All right. Shalom, shalom, Israel. First and foremost, all praises to Yahweh, Shema Mashiach Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world calls God, and Yahweh Shai being the name of his beloved Son, who the world calls Jesus Christ, whom is the Savior of the nation of Israel. Right? This is Brother Malachi out of the WFI Detroit camp. And today's lesson is simply a rapid fire Q&A. Right? So any of you brothers and sisters got any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to ask. Right? And through the knowledge of the Lord, Most High willing, we'll be able to give these answers. I'm going to start off with Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 10. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 10. It say, for they that keep holiness holily shall be judged holy, and they that have learned such things shall find what to answer. Right? So we have learned such things, so we have to find the answers to be able to properly build up men and women in the knowledge of the Lord. Right? You may have questions, comments, concerns, right? Things that you're going through. Hey man, feel free to ask. And Most High willing, we're gonna get the answers. But if nobody got any questions, we're gonna go into different topics. Right? So let me bring out Sirach chapter 39, verse 30. Right? Because you got power outage, Texas, right? You got massive storms going on, and that's the judgment of Yahweh Shemiah Shai. The Most High is judging the world and judging the earth for all its iniquities. Let me get Sirach chapter 39, verse 30. I'll start at verse 28. It say, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. And in the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Right? So the Most High created these different spirits on the earth to judge the wicked, to plague the ungodly. It's a fire and hail and famine and death. All these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. All right. It say, they shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is. And when the time is come, they shall not transgress his word. So the Most High is raising up these different spirits, and the Most High can use the elements to judge the wicked. Right? An element that he's using right now to judge the wicked is the element of snow. Right? The element of the cold. Right? That's why Texas has power outages right now, because of the massive cold Arctic weather. And that's all the judgment of Yahweh Shemiah Shai. All right. So we give thanks to the Most High for the things that he have done. All right. So Benjamin Youngwolf, Shalom King, what does the neighbor mean in Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10? Let's go to it. Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10. And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. So this is a judgment of adultery according to the Bible, right? Adultery is when you have sex with a married woman, right? When you commit adultery, that's when you engage in sexual relations with a woman that's married. That's what adultery is according to the Bible. And the neighbor in Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10 is your fellow Israelite brother, right? Let's get Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. It say, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him, right? So your neighbor is your fellow Israelite brother or your fellow Israelite sister. That's who your neighbor is according to the Bible, right? So that's that. So let's get Isaiah chapter 49 and I start at verse 5. And now saith the Lord that formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him, though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Lord, and my God shall be my strength. And he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth. Right now, the Gentiles in this context is talking about the Israelite foreigners, right? When you read the New Testament, 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2, right? Acts the 13th chapter, I believe Acts the 5th chapter, the Gentiles are the Israelites, right? So we're going to be a light to the Israelite foreigners. All right, let's get a precept on that. Right, I believe it's one in Matthew to say, those that sit in darkness seeing great light. Matter of fact, I get another one in Second Esdras, the 2nd chapter. Shalom, shalom to everybody tuning in. Let's get Second Esdras, the 2nd chapter, right? Because the Israelites in the Bible are referred to as the Gentiles. Israelites are also being called heathen in the scriptures. So you have to use precept upon precept and have a spiritual understanding to decipher which one is which. Because Israelites are called Gentiles and heathen also in the scriptures. Because we went into the different philosophies and doctrines of the heathen nations. So this is Second Esdras chapter 2 and start at verse 33. I, Esdras, received a charge of the Lord upon the Mount Oreb, that I should go unto Israel. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught and despised the commandment of the Lord. And therefore I say unto you, O ye heathen, that hear and understand, look for your shepherd, he shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand that shall come in the end of the world. Right, so here it is, Esdras in second Esdras chapter 6, Salaki, second Esdras chapter 2, verse 33. He's calling Israelites heathens. Right, so the Israelites are also referred to as heathens and Gentiles in the scriptures. Right. Noah's Joah said, where does it say that if you fear the Lord, you will keep his commandments? I think I heard the verse from somewhere. That's in Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. Let's bring it out. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. So when you fear the Most High, you're going to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. That's in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12 and the 13th verse. Right? Right, and right, I'm not sure why it hit this sister message, but yeah, tuna is not unclean according to the Bible. Tuna has a minor scales, right? It has miniature scales, right? But it's different variations of tuna, so you want to do your due diligence and your due research to see, you know, whether it has fins and scales. But yes, tuna is clean according to the Bible. Right? Me personally, I only eat yellowfin tuna and skipjack. I don't deal with the other ones. So any other questions, comments, concerns? Right. Let's go back to Sirach chapter 39, right? Because they say what? A EMP has happened in Texas, man. And we've been prophesying about the EMP, electromagnetic pulse, right? We've been prophesying about that. We've been saying, look, this is going to happen on the earth, right? It's going to be darkness, there's going to be outages. We've been saying these things for years now, but now it's coming to pass. Now the Most High is fulfilling these things, right? Then shall they know that there have been a prophet among them, right? So let's get Sirach chapter 39 and verse 31. It say, they shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is, and when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. So they don't transgress the words of the Heavenly Father. These different elements, right? These spirits that the Most High raised up, they appease the wrath of the Heavenly Father, meaning they do what the Most High say. Let's get that. Let's get Psalms 103 and 21. Psalms chapter 103, verse 21. Psalm chapter 103, verse 21. I started verse 20. It say, bless the Lord, ye his angels that excel in strength, that do his commandments, hearken unto the voice of his word. Now, different demons are also angels. They are angels on the left-hand side. You can read about that in 2 Kings chapter 19, verses 22. Psalm chapter 66 and verse 5. Psalm chapter 78, verse 49. Right? The Lord has angels on the left-hand side. Also in Proverbs chapter 17, verse 11. So it say that do his commandments, hearkening unto the voice of his word. So the angels, they do the commandments of the Most High. They don't transgress his word. Bless ye the Lord, all ye his hosts, ye ministers of his that do his pleasure. Right? So these different angels, these different demons, Satan, he do the pleasure of the Most High. Right? Everyone is under the dominion and authority of the Heavenly Father. One person asked, is it a sin to wear a Hebrew face mask at work? I have to wear a face mask on the plantation. That's not a sin, brother. Sin is transgression of God's laws. There's nowhere in the law that say you can't wear a face mask. So that would not be considered sin, brother. And you have to use wisdom. If you're on a plantation and they require you to wear a face mask, hey, just put on a face mask, man. Don't be rebellious, right? Romans the 13th chapter. Let's get Matthew chapter 10 and verse 16. But no, it's not a sin, brother. Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. It say, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So you have to be wise like a serpent. You have to be harmless as a dove, right? You never seen a dove get physical with another bird, right? You never seen a dove kind of, you know, you never seen that, man. So you got to be harmless as a dove. You got to be wise as a serpent. You have to be harmless as a dove. Even on the plantation, you got to use wisdom, right? Shabbat Shalom. All praise to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahushua. Today's the Sabbath day, right? All right, so this is Genesis chapter 9, verse 21. Is Genesis 9:21 through 22 literally or twofold the water? Genesis chapter 9, verse 21. And he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered with it. I start at verse 20 to get the proper context. So this is going into Noah. And Noah began to be an husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brethren without. So this is literal, man. Right? This literally happened. Right? Now we know the scriptures that say wine is spiritual, But Genesis chapter 9, verse 21, there was a literal wine that Noah was drunken with. And Ham did some offness, right? So that's literal, sister or brother. Come, ask questions. It's a rapid fire Q&A, so ask any questions that you want to ask. Right? Let's go to Psalm chapter 78, verse 49. Right? You shall fear him. Right. One brother asks, what does a forward speaking mean? I'm not sure what you asking. Forward? Are you asking about forward speaking? It doesn't say, scriptures don't speak about forward. Are you asking about forward? One brother asks, can you break down, ye shall fear every man his mother and his father and keep my Sabbaths? I am the Lord your God. Leviticus 19:3. So when it says fear every man, your mother and your father, that just simply means to reverence your mother and your father and honor them. That's what it means. It's not a literal fear, like you're in fear for your life. It means to have high respect and high regard for your parents. And that's in the law. Let's get Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12. It's the book of Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. So you have to honor, you have to respect both your father and your mother. That's what it means to fear, to have high regard and high respect for your mother and your father. Do white people have place in the next world? Let's get Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1. Every nation has a place in the next world to come. But we got to understand what their place is according to the Bible. It's book of Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. So the different strangers, meaning these different heathen nations, they're going to be in the kingdom of heaven, but they're going to cleave to the house of Israel as servants and handmaids. Verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So in the next world to come, these different heathen nations, they're going to be slaves under the Israelites, right? Chiefly the so-called white man, right? He's going to receive the worst judgment and worst rigorous labor in the kingdom of heaven. And after 1,000 years, he's going to be eradicated off the earth. So yes, he has a place in the next world to come, but his place is to be in captivity and servitude. Okay, can you show me that America is the last captivity, aka Babylon, which I know a verse there is, I think just need to remember, right? So it's a plethora of scriptures you can go to prove that America is the last captivity, but this is the one that I always go to. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he hath driven them, I will bring them again to their land that I gave unto their fathers. Right. So our first captivity was Egypt, and our last captivity is going to be located in the land of the north, which is North America. Right. So Egypt was our first captivity. America is our last captivity, North America. And that's Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 14 and 15. Okay, Shalom, how do you deal with ungodly parents when in the law it says to honor your father and mother, the water? Right? So dealing with ungodly parents, parents that's in the world, you still have to deal with them according to wisdom. Right now, if they ask you to come over for their damn Christmas party, right, kind of decorate the tree with them, hey man, you got to respectfully say la ah, because at the end of the day, we got to obey the Most High rather than men, as it states in Acts chapter 5, verse 29. Right? But you still have to honor them. You still have to respect them in regards of not calling them out their name, right? Not yelling at them, not blurting out at them, right? You still have to respect them in that sense. But if they telling you to go against the commandments of the Most High, that's when you have to say la ah, because we ought to obey the Most High rather than men. And you can read about that in Deuteronomy the 13th chapter, right? So let's get a precept on that though. Bear with me. This the book of John, chapter 14, verse let's go to Salakia, Luke 14. Bear with me. It's book of Luke, chapter 14, verse 23. Nah, Salakia, let's go to 26. Luke 14 and 26. It say, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. Now, Luke chapter 14, verse 26, that's not talking about literally hate your father and your mother, right? That's basically talking about you gotta esteem the Most High over everything, even your parents, even your wife, even your children, even your brother, even your sister. The Most High come first before anything, right? And that's in Exodus chapter 20 and verse 3, verse 27. And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you intended to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Right. So that's pretty much it on that. When you come to the Most High, you gotta hate your father and your mother. Again, that's not literal. You have to esteem them less than the work of the Most High. Right. That's in Matthew chapter 12, verse 47. Let's see what Yahushua said about that. Right. Let's get Matthew chapter 12, verse. I'm gonna skip right to the point. I started verse 46. While he talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. Then one said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee. But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother, and who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. That's right. So your real family are your brothers and sisters within this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? Because your old family, your intermediate family, hey man, a lot of the time they ain't gonna get it. They ain't gonna make it. They're gonna be destroyed in the second coming of the Lord. You have to face that reality. So when you dealing with them, you got to deal with them at a distance, man. You got to kind of love Israel at a distance. Again, if they telling you to come to their Christmas party, right? They get mad at you because you ain't going to their Thanksgiving gathering. Hey man, they got to deal with it, right? But you still got to honor them in the sense of you have to respect them. You can't be cursing them out, right? You can't be talking to your parents kind of crazy because they're not keeping the Sabbath day, right? So that's pretty much it on that. What if your mom or dad is white? Well, if your dad white, you're an Edomite, right? And this thing is not for you. But if your mother is white, you still have to respect your mother, right? But you gotta face the fact that she is going to slavery, or to the Bible. So you can't have your emotions involved. Last question: who are the foreigners in the Bible? You got to pull a verse, brother, right? You got to pull a verse with that one. With that question, a verse has to be uh, proposed. I'm about to have a child. Ruth is a Moabite. Ruth is a Moabite. Because she was keeping the law, though. Well, the heathens could keep the law, right? There's different accounts in the Bible where the heathens cleave to the house of Israel. And they're going to do that in the kingdom of heaven. When you read Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23 on down, and Zechariah chapter 14, verse 16 on down, right? And Achior, I believe the Ammonite, he cleaved to the house of Israel in Judith chapter 14, verse 10. So there's different accounts in the Bible where the heathens will cleave to the house of Israel. That don't mean they're going to be saved. That don't mean that the promises are for them. That don't mean they're going to be on a chariot with another Israelite. No, man. That just means they bow down and they acknowledge us to be the chosen, and they cleave to the house of Israel, and they acknowledge the God of Israel to be the only one true and living power. Where we at with it? We are about to have a child in the next week or two. Is there any scriptures on helping nurturing a newborn? Hey, first and foremost, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahweh Shai, man. Right? The scriptures say in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, be fruitful and multiply. As far as helping nurturing a newborn, I would go to Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6. It say, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Right? So the first thing you want to do with your newborn child, you want to make sure, you of course you praying over your children, right? You reading the Bible to your children, right? Installing the spirit of the Lord in them at a youthful age, right? And these are all the things that's going to help them build up their spirit when they get older, so they can have the spirit of the Most High already in them. So you have to train up a child in the way they should go, and when they old, they're not going to depart from that way. I mean, you have to teach them the law, statutes, and commandments, right? You have to build them up in the knowledge of the Lord. Let's get what's that? Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 7, right? Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 7. It say, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. That's right. So you got to keep these law, statutes, and commandments, and you also have to teach them to your children. Teach them to your young children and your sucklings. All right. Let's get another precept on that. Let's get Second Ezra chapter 8. Chapter 8, verse 8. Second Ezra chapter 8, verse 8. It say, for when the body is fashioned now in the mother's womb, and thou givest it members, thy creature is preserved in fire and water, And 9 months doth thy workmanship endure, thy creature was created in her. But that which keepeth and is kept shall both be preserved. And when the time cometh, the womb preserveth, delivereth up the things that grew in it. But thou hast commanded out of the parts of the body, that is to say, out of the breast, milk to be given, which is the fruit of the breast. Right? So, right, you want to make sure everything is natural, right? Right? Your woman about to have a child, right? You want to make sure the baby is being breastfed. Don't feed the baby no damn Similac, man. Right? Some damn Similac mess the baby brain all up. Right? Now the baby can't even properly grow or function. Right? He's kind of behind, right? Because he was fed that Similac at a young age, and it distorted his brain. So you want to make sure everything is natural, right? Make sure your baby is being breastfed, preserved the proper way. Precept. What is 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3 talking about? All right, we're going to start at verse 1 for the context. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. Right, so that's what's going on right now. Right, people falling out, people giving heed to seducing spirits. They're going into different doctrines and philosophies. That's how you know we are living in the last times, because these spirits are out here devouring men, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats, which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. Right? So you have certain men out here bringing out doctrines that you can't get married, right? And also bringing out doctrines out here that you can't eat meat, which is folly and madness, because according to the Bible, we got to eat lamb in the Passover. The Lord said we can eat flesh in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 20. So that's all that's saying. It's literally self-explanatory. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 20. It say, when the Lord thy God shall enlarge thy border as he hath promised thee, thou shalt say, I will eat flesh, because thy soul longeth to eat flesh. Thou mayest eat flesh, whatsoever thy soul lusteth after. So the Lord literally said in the Bible that we can eat meat. But you have people out here saying we can't eat meat, and eating meat is a sin. So that's not according to thus saith the Lord. Let me go to Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23. Book of Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23. It say, thus saith the Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, we will go with you, but we heard that the Most High is with you. Right? So there's different accounts in the Bible of the different heathen nations cleaving to the house of Israel and actually keeping the law. Does that mean they're going to receive the glory of the kingdom of heaven? But they are going to be in the kingdom. They're going to be slaves in heaven. So there's different accounts in the Bible of the heathens cleaving to the house of Israel. It just is what it is, brother. Do you only eat the lamb on the first day of Passover or the first and last? Let's get Exodus chapter 12. Exodus chapter 12. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12, verse 8. This is going into the lamb. It say, and they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Right? So the Passover is not a damn Chinese buffet. You can't have chicken. You can't have macaroni and cheese. You got your peas going on. You got your potato salad going on. No, you have to have the lamb, the unleavened bread, and the bitter herbs. Verse 9, eat not of it raw nor sodden at all with water, meaning you can't boil your lamb, but roast with fire, meaning you got to roast that lamb, right? Put that thing on the grill. His head with his legs and with the pertinence thereof. It say, and ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire, and thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. Ye shall eat in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. Right? So the scriptures say what it say. You shall have nothing of the lamb remaining over until the morning, and that which remaineth to the morning, you got to burn it with fire. So you got to eat that lamb, get all that lamb eaten on that first day. Right? And then the rest of those days is the feast of unleavened bread, in which you eat unleavened bread for 7 days. Will we need food and water for our spiritual bodies? Right? We're still going to eat food and drink water in the kingdom of heaven, brother. Hey, brother, if you don't agree, brother, you can keep it moving. Right? I just kind of broke it down through the spirit. It's Psalm 72 chapter talking about Yahweh Shai. Let me go to it. It's the 72nd chapter. Psalm 72 and 1. Give the king thy judgments, O God, and thy righteousness unto the king's son. He shall judge thy people with righteousness, and thy poor with the judgment. The mountain shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness. He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy, and shall break in pieces the oppressor. Khan, this is talking about Yahweh Shai. Right, this is a prophecy of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. I ain't gonna read the whole thing, but yeah, that's a prophecy of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai in the Bible. Bro, you in oven. It's Bino World. Is Jacob's trouble only going to affect the elect or all of Zion? Jacob's trouble is going to affect all of the Israelites. Every Israelite will feel the effects of Jacob's trouble. Passover falls on which day this year? March 26th, sundown. On these, one sister asks, on these high holy days that's coming up, can you work and lay with your spouse? It just depends. I would say no. I would say no, sister. Nehemiah chapter 10, verse no, not Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 31. Um, Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 13. I would not recommend you do your pleasures on the high holy days. Get a precept on that. This is book of Isaiah chapter 58, verse 13. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thy own ways, nor finding out thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken it. Right. So I would say when it comes to these high holy days that's coming up, such as Purim, destruction of Nicanor, right? I will abstain from all appearance of evil. Right. I wouldn't even manage to tempt the Lord like that on a holy day. So I would say right, you can abstain from that for a day. Numbers chapter 28, Slakia, Numbers chapter 24, verse 18 is a future prophecy, right? That's a future prophecy going into Yahweh Shai. Let me go to it. Numbers chapter 24, verse 18. Numbers chapter 24, verse 18. It's a and Edom shall be a possession, Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. So this is going into when we put the nations in slavery in the latter future. Again, when because I explained this a few times, when a right, when a feast day falls on the Sabbath, it overrides that specific law, and you can cook on that day. Right. So when a feast day falls on the Sabbath, you still can cook on that Sabbath. During the resurrection, will the wicked and righteous receive physical bodies? Right? Let's go to it. Let's go to Second Esdras chapter 2, verse 16. It say, and no, now this is going into the resurrection. In those days, Salakia, in those that be dead will I raise up again from their places and bring them out of the graves, for I have known my name in Israel. Right? Right. So in the resurrection is going to be a actual physical resurrection. Right? And both the wicked and the righteous are going to be raised up in that day. Some are going to be raised up to receive salvation on their chariots. The others are going to be raised up to receive destruction from these thermonuclear missiles, and they're going into the lake of fire. Right now, let me go to it. Let me go to Esther chapter 9, verse 18. Bear with me. All right, so let's go to Esther chapter 9, verse 17. It say, on the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same, rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day of the same they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore the Jews of the villages dwelt in the unwalled towns, made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. Right? So they did this for 2 days. All right. And that's Esther chapter 9, verse 18. Right. Any more questions, comments, concerns? About to go ahead and close this out through the spirit. Destruction of Nicanor, February 23rd, sundown. It's February 23rd, sundown, until February 24th, sundown. Let me go to Ruth chapter 1, verse 16. Just gonna go ahead, nip this in the bud, man. Go ahead and nip this in the bud real quick. Ruth is a Moabite. Bear with me. Let's go to Ruth chapter 1, verse 15. It say, and she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee or to return from following after thee, but whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Right? So you got to pay attention to the wordplay that's being used, man. Right? Ruth is a Moabite according to the Bible. Right? She said, let me read that again. It say, and Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee or return from following after thee, for whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. All right. So she's simply cleaving onto the house of Israel, like we see in different accounts in the Bible. Again, Achior and Judges, Slaki and Judith, chapter 14, verse 10. Right. Also in Second Maccabees, the 12th chapter, you had heathens cleaving on during that time. Right. Esther chapter 16. Right. Let me bring that out. Esther chapter 8, verse 16. Right. Yes, you have heathens that cleave in the Bible. We just got to deal with it. Let me get Esther chapter 8, verse 16. Let me get Esther chapter 8, verse 16. It's a let's go to verse 15. It say, and Mordecai went, Slakia, Esther chapter 8, verse 15. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple, in the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. It say the Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. And in every province and in every city, whatsoever the king commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. Right? So even during the time of Mordecai, you had these different heathen nations in fear of the Jews. They say, you know what, we're going to humble down and we're going to do the commandments of the Jews. Right? We're going to do everything that the Jews say. We're going to cleave to the Jews. Right now, did they actually change their nationality? No. They were heathen nations following the commandments of the Israelites. That's all. So you have heathens that cleave on in the Bible, brother. Okay. I just went to different precepts, brother, and broke it down. Now, if you don't understand it, if you don't want to get it, brother, that's on you. We can respectfully disagree. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 7, verse 19. For the good man is not at home, he is gone a long journey. He have taken a bag of money with him and will come home at the day appointed. Khan, that's talking about Hamashiach Yahushua. Yahushua, he's the good man. He's gone on a long journey, meaning he's sitting on the right hand of the Most High. And he's going to come back during the time appointed. And he's going to judge the world according to equity and righteousness. Right? All right, man. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glorification to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahushua. I'm going to say Shalom.